How's it going, everyone? Next up, we have Adetomiwa Adebawore, edge rusher out of Northwestern. My bad if I messed up that name. That's hard to say. So he is currently ranked 44th overall in the consensus draft board, and he is the 8th best ranked pass rusher in this year's draft. He is a 6'2 foot, 282 pound man, so he is pretty big. And he ran an astronomical 4.49 40-yard time at that size, which is insane to think of a man that big running that fast. He has definitely been getting a lot of buzz ever since the combine due to the fact of how insanely well he tested at the combine with his numbers, and he ended up with a RAS score of 9.72. He's currently ranked as a late second round pick currently, and he had a 4-year career over at Northwestern. So in his freshman year, he only played 3 games, had 6 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack. Then in his sophomore year, got more playing time, had 9 games played at 17 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. Then his junior year, where he started dominating, he had played 12 games, had 36 total tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, had 1 pick, and 2 forced fumbles. And then in his senior year, followed that up with another 12 games played, had 38 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. So he had a very productive career towards the tail end of his college career. So what do we love about him? Well, his scouting combine. He tested insanely well. Once again, ran a 4.49 40-yard time at 282 pounds. Dude is a freakish athlete. He has very long arms. He has pretty good strength. He's very explosive, which makes sense, especially with his 40-yard time running that fast. And he also has a very high motor and doesn't really quit on any play. Adding on to that high motor, he also has a very high pain tolerance. He was injured for a little bit of his senior year, and yet he still barely left the field. And he pretty much played through injury, which makes his numbers a little bit even more impressive considering he was injured for a bit. When it comes to his interior penetration, he's pretty good at it. He can play on the inside and the outside due to his size. And he also plays with really good leverage and not having his pad level too high. So he has a lot to love. Now, what makes him a second round pick, there's always downsides to these players and where they need to develop to become a potential bona fide superstar, especially when he's got the athletic talent. So he does play a bit stiff. He kind of lacks that flexibility or that agility, which kind of makes sense. He's 6'2", 282 pounds, but there's some flexibility left to be desired from him. And going back to his size, being 6'2", 282 pounds, he's a little bit too light to play on the interior at the NFL level, but he's also a little too big to play outside. So he's in that weird in-between part of like, all right, you're too small to play interior, but you're too big to play on the outside. He's most likely going to play on the outside, especially due to the fact he's so darn fast and can potentially bull rush on the outside. Once again, that little flexibility and trying to get the bend towards the quarterback is going to have to be developed for him to take the next step at the next level, but he's probably going to end up just being an outside edge rusher and not much play on the interior unless there's, of course, some stunts. Continuing on the fact that he's probably going to play edge rusher, he doesn't have the biggest move set at pass rusher. He doesn't have a lot of moves, so he's going to have to develop some more pass rushing moves and not be as predictable because as of right now, he only has a handful of moves. So he's going to have to develop that. He's still a very raw prospect, and kind of adding on to being a defensive lineman, he missed a lot of tackles mainly because he kind of throws his body. He doesn't wrap up, so he's going to have to learn how to wrap up tackle at the next level, or else he's going to continue to miss a lot of tackles. So when you draft a player like this, and I can see the Packers, if they drafted this player, like all the players we've kind of been looking at, it's going to take some time and development. They could obviously learn from Rashawn Gary, who is also an athletic freak in his own. He's going to have to take a couple years to develop to potentially be an all-star or a very viable starter for us, or for any team for that matter, to develop those pass rush moves, wrap up tackle, because I don't think you should have a job if you can't tackle, really. And we've experienced that on the tail end with Darnell Savage. Like, he's an athletic freak, he's real fast, but he's a liability at, well, coverage and tackling. Tackling is huge. We've dealt with many years of players not being able to tackle. That's what made Devondre Campbell his first year with us so amazing, because he only missed like one tackle. It was great to have a sure tackler. So he's definitely going to have to develop that. So if the Packers do end up picking Adebawore in the second, or if he even falls to the third round, it'd be a pretty good pickup. We have a need for edge rusher. It's very obvious we need edge rusher. And the Packers do tend to pick in like pairs or 2 or 3 at a position at need once they start targeting it. We did it before when corner was a big need in 2018 under Gutekunst. He ended up picking Jair Alexander and Josh Johnson. He tends to pick them in groups. So I could see them picking another edge rusher potentially with him, depending on how the draft board is falling. And it'll be a pretty good situation for him. He's not going to be completely asked to start. Yes, Rashawn Gary's still out for half a year, but we have Preston Smith. So he can kind of be a rotational player and get some insight from Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary and develop, along with our pretty good linebackers coach, really. So he would be a good fit for us. He's very athletic. That's what the Packers love. That RAS score is through the roof. And he just needs some development, which is something the Packers kind of strive on, is development. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And as always, go Pack Go.